it's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Thank you very much. Good to have you with us on this Friday edition of the show. Always busy on Fridays. Tino Pattigno will be here because it's a NASCAR Friday, previewing the big race in Daytona, final regular season race for the NASCAR Cup Series. 2 spots left for the playoffs. What does it look like when it comes to those 2 positions? Is it just play it safe for the guys in those spots and you'll find your way into the playoffs? Or could somebody from the back of the pack win the race and push one of those guys out of the playoffs? A whole bunch to be decided. Robert Littal will be here from Black Sports Online. Talk to him about a number of issues from around the sports world this week. But we start things in the NFL. Sam Yarnell is here. We are ready for the weekend, Sam. And the final weekend of preseason NFL football, Sam Yarnell. And a revelation from Jerry Jones that certainly opened up some eyebrows, or raised some eyebrows? Opened eyes and raised eyebrows. How's that? Within the last 24 hours. While on Michael Irvin's YouTube channel on Thursday, I didn't even know Michael Irvin had a YouTube channel. I guess I should have. The Cowboys owner and GM said the agreement he believed he made with Micah Parsons, quote, would have made him the highest paid guaranteed player other than a quarterback in the NFL. And judging by the fact that Micah Parsons hasn't come out and denied this, and I haven't heard anybody from Parsons camp deny this, tells me it's probably true. Now, if it is true, I don't know why Jerry would say it if it wasn't true, because amongst the things you hear from Jerry Jones, it's not like you hear a ton of lies. You might hear a lot of bluster, and you might hear things that kind of make you raise your eyebrows, but you don't really look at him and say he's just a bold-faced liar. Assuming it's true, Sam, does this give the Cowboys a bit more cover when it comes to these negotiations?
Maybe. I don't know, man. This is like it's gotten to that point, Jason. The story has officially gotten to that point, which few stories do, especially on this show. But it has gotten to the point where I'm like officially like, I don't care. I don't care who has the edge. I don't care. At this point, I don't care whether or not it gets done. I'm tired of wasting so much of my excitement for football season starting on, if we're going to be realistic about it, maybe the best player on the worst unit of a third place team. So, yeah, sure, someone's got the advantage. I don't care. The contract's not going to get signed for another 2 weeks, and we're going to waste so many more hours when we could be learning about the cool parts of all these different rosters about the NFL, talking about this one stupid player.
But it's a huge player on one of the most popular teams in the NFL. And you've said yourself, you think people are underselling the Cowboys. You're one of the people that's higher on them. So I mean, look, we can put a ban on this topic until he signs. If you feel so strongly about it, Sam Yarnell, we could put a ban on all things Micah Parsons related until he signs. But at the same time, it's a huge story when you're talking about a guy that could be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Now, I get it. That list updates, it feels like weekly. Because I get it. But you are talking about a key cog, in the wheel here when we talk about the Cowboys and where this team is supposed to go. That's all. It's fine.
You're right.
It's okay.
And I will
understand
say,
your
to
angst,
our credit, I feel like you and I, Jason, have done a bang-up job of giving this a decently calm amount of time, whereas if you turn on just about any other football show now, you're getting 75% of all of their content about Micah Parsons. By the way, Trey Hendrickson's still out there unsigned, Terry McLaurin's still out there unsigned, and I could make pretty convincing arguments that both of those guys are more important to more competitive teams.
Yeah. We give it about 14, maybe 13% of the show, if that. All right, move away from that for a moment. We find out that Shedeur Sanders is going to play in the final. He might start the final preseason game for the Cleveland Browns. And I was left asking the question, is it the last time we see him before he gets cut? And I think there's a wide range of possibilities here, which makes the Shedeur Sanders situation fascinating. He could make the team and be starting by week 6, or he could be looking for a team to play for in a week, Sam.
Yeah, as weird as this is to come out of my mouth, I think I'm straying further and further away from the idea of the Browns cutting Shedeur Sanders. To me, the writing on the wall happened about, maybe it was a week ago at this point. Maybe it was going into last week's preseason game. But there was talk of all these quarterbacks being hurt. And hey, what if we just threw a couple of them on IR? It seems to me like that is the prevailing sense in Cleveland is we're not going to let these guys touch the waiver wire and risk putting them to the practice squad. We're not going to worry about them until week 6, 7, 8, or whenever you can come off of IR. I think it's week 7 or 8. Let's just throw either Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel right on IR. The other one can safely move right to the quarterback room and be our emergency third string. And then we'll be good to go. And then if we find a suitor for Kenny Pickett or whatever the case may be, something happens to Joe Flacco, it's all right there in front of you. That's where I'm personally at. If I were the Cleveland Browns, that's what I'd do tomorrow.
There is a better question that I think than all of these, and it is this. Would he be better off for his career? Would he be better off being released? And I think the answer is yes. I think he'd actually be better off being released. Because then there are any number of situations and possibilities that open themselves up, where he could go wind up being a backup somewhere, a meaningful backup. Hell, if I were the Detroit Lions looking at their backup quarterback situation, I'd go sign Shedeur Sanders. I mean, seriously, there are so many possibilities out there for a guy like Shedeur Sanders. If I were the Rams, and you've got Matt Stafford, with his back situation, and Jimmy Garoppolo's your backup.
Jason, he is in the 32nd best place to be a young quarterback in the NFL right now. Look at the track record. There's no place worse to be a young quarterback than Cleveland, Ohio in the NFL. Baker Mayfield.
I think we just lost an affiliate in Cleveland somewhere. We're just telling it like it is, folks. I mean, if you're in Cleveland, you know the truth. Look within yourself. We're coming back. More NFL next. All right, our trip around the NFL's various divisions continue. Over the last several days, we have entertained you with, if not, then who? We've gone through each division and tried to give you a sense of who we think the team to beat in the division is, if not the favorite in that division. I think that makes sense. We have gone through all of the AFC, and on yesterday's show, we went through the NFC East. Today, we will go through the NFC North. So, Sam Yarnell, on this Friday edition of SportsWrap, with the Detroit Lions being the favorite to win the NFC North at plus 160. I ask you, with the Packers at plus 240, the Vikings at plus 290, and the Bears at plus 550, by far and away the most competitive of all the divisions. Actually, it's not. There is one that's more competitive that we'll get to next week, at least as of right now in the odds. But I ask you, if not the Detroit Lions at plus 160, Sam Yarnell, then who?
The Chicago Bears.
Wow.
This is the same exercise that I could have done yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, when you can make a clear and obvious argument for any team in this division. But here's why I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, I like Ben Johnson quite a bit. I think I established that pretty well on the show last year. I think that he can do a lot with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, again, I think is the biggest variable in terms of all the quarterbacks in the NFL heading into this season. We could be going into week 8 talking about this guy. Is he really scraping to be a top 7, top 6 quarterback in the NFL? Or we could be going into that same week saying, listen, are they going to extend this guy beyond the first contract? I mean, what are we doing here? Was this just a waste of a first overall pick in Chicago? I think that, to me, the Bears present the best opportunity because they've shown as a franchise, at least in the very short term, definitely not over the long term, but very much so over the short term, that they're willing to invest in this football team, especially right now. So I'm going to take that investment and I'm going to put it on a plus 550 to win a division that the defending champion just lost both coordinators, right? The team that came in second place last year has a different starting quarterback this year. And the other team in front of the Bears has a quarterback who just had surgery and seemingly can't stay healthy for an entire season, no matter what happens to him. So yeah, give me the Chicago Bears, Jason.
I don't think it's a bad pick because here's the thing. We know what the Lions are, and obviously they should be the favorite to win that division. I am not putting any of my hard-earned money on the Minnesota Vikings on a quarterback that I've seen play one full preseason game and hasn't played a meaningful game in 3 years. Like, I can't. I cannot put my hard-earned money. I can't. As little of it as I have these days, I cannot take that money and in good conscience put it on the Minnesota Vikings. I think we know what the ceiling of the Packers is. And I think we've kind of seen it. I feel like and look, it's not to say, on a different team with a different roster or different whatever, that Jordan Love maybe couldn't win more somewhere else or something like that. This iteration of Jordan Love with this iteration of Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers, rather. This version of that team, I feel like this is it. Like, I think we've already seen sort of where that team maxes out. That's my take on it, which does take you to the Bears, which I think of all the teams outside of the Lions, who we obviously all agree is the favorite to win this. And if I only had one team to put money on, am I putting it on them? Maybe. But if I have to pick a team of if not, then who, which is this exercise, I think it's the Chicago Bears. I think I'm with you on this. And I'm higher on Caleb Williams than you are. You think there's, this possibility that he's, this awful quarterback, or we could be talking about him being, this dynamo under Ben Johnson. I think it is far more likely to be the latter than it is the former. Given the tools he has to work with, given that offensive line, given this head coach, no matter how hard he may drive these players into the ground, it sounds like, from people that we've talked to that have sort of watched Ben Johnson's bedside manner, if you will. But I'm of the mindset that this is, if not the Lions, I would take the Bears right now. And I don't know what their win total is. I'm kind of curious to see now that we're on it. I'm going to look at their win total here real fast. But I'm with you on Chicago, Sam. I'm buying in.
They were the only team in this division that was below 500 on the road last year, and they went 1-7 on the road.
Isn't that amazing?
To me, that is where this will kind of change, and I think Ben Johnson is a guy who can bring that kind of fortitude to a team together to go on the road and go into tough environments in the NFC North and win games away from home.
Give you one little hint. To win 8+ games, they're minus 130. Which is an interesting, I think, tell. To win 10+ games, the Bears are, where's my Bears number? Do they not have a number for them at 10+, really? Oh, here it is. Plus 210. And those aren't huge. I mean, that's not a huge number. That's not a huge number for that Bears team.
No, but remember, the winner of this division needed to win 15 games last year. Like, as much as we will sit here and talk about how they have everything in front of them more than any other team in this division, this is arguably the best division in football. Actually, it might not be arguable. This might be hands down the best division in football, Jason. So, yeah, we could futz around with
8.5 is the number. 8.5 is basically the number in Vegas, though. 8.5 is over 8.5 is plus 125. Under 8.5 is minus 150.
I'd rather just bet them to win the division. I honestly would. I wouldn't mess around with win totals with this team because you're based on what you're telling me. We're clearly not getting the right value on the right numbers.
Yeah,
right.
I agree
and the
with you.
value is there essentially for them to win. We'll be generous with it, between 13 and 15 games. Yeah, give me that at plus 550 any day of the week.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the only value is in them at plus 550 because even if you start going into the win total numbers for them, you got to go way up the ladder in order to get a number that is, something worth going after. So I think you're right. So we're both on board with the Bears for our if not then who in the NFC North, but both in agreement that Detroit's probably winning this division, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, fair enough. All right, Robert Littal is going to join us. Sam will be back for odds and ends. We're coming back. This Friday edition of the show continues, and if it's a Friday, it can only mean one of two things. Either Tino Pattigno is here to talk NASCAR, which he will be later, or Robert Littal is here, founder of Black Sports Online. Hangs out with us every Friday on the show to discuss some of the top stories of the week. I got a lot to run through with you in our two segments today. Let me start with this Shedeur Sanders stuff with the comments made by, we were just talking about at the top of the show, whether or not Sanders will be on this roster. I mean, it's kind of crazy to even say that after what we saw from him in his one preseason performance, but he didn't play in the second game.
And I totally understand that.
And he's going to get to play in this
and that's what I'm focused on doing.
Third preseason
of course,
game, but then we don't really know
it's something that I'll get used to.
What the future holds for Shedeur Sanders as it relates to the roster, and is the team going to carry three quarterbacks? Going to carry two? Is he the third? Is it? They've got so many choices there in Cleveland. First, I want to get your thoughts on what Dillon Gabriel said, and then tried to sort of walk back by saying, "Well, I was talking about the media when I said there's entertainers and then there's athletes." And Shedeur Sanders kind of took the high road because they asked him, "Hey, do you believe him?" And he kind of spun away from it. He hit the O button and he spun away from it. So, what did you make of the whole thing with both what Gabriel said, how he walked it back, and how Sanders handled it?
Well, I watched it live, so I got an advantage that maybe some people didn't get when you saw everybody started seeing the clips on social media. So when I saw it live, I knew exactly what he was trying to say. And then I also knew how it came about. Because even if you were saying that the media is entertainers, that is also just saying that they are buying into the entertainment, which of course is Shedeur Sanders. So was it a backwards type of slap at Shedeur? Was it saying it's not Shedeur's fault, but it's the media's fault? Whatever it is, it came off a little tone deaf. Mm-hmm. I think Shedeur wanted to say more, but kind of held himself, back. That's why you never draft two rookies. They're not going to be friends. If you draft a third and a fifth round pick, or you draft a first and a third round pick, they're not going to be friends because, like you said, there's only so many positions on the team. And quarterback is not something you can have seven guys on, like wide receiver. So I think he took it a certain way, and I think maybe Dillon was trying to send a message a certain way.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Do you think this is Sanders' last game in Cleveland, or are they going to keep him on the roster some way, somehow?
Well, I say this. I mean, if we're just going off merit, like actual just merit, and as a college professor used to tell me, they said, Rob, when you're looking at a situation, if you want to do it fairly and unbiasedly, don't think of the names, just look at the situation. And if we looked at the situation, we didn't know who was the third round pick and we didn't know who was the fifth round pick, and we just took those two individuals, 99% of the people would say Sanders should make the team over Gabriel, I would think, if we didn't know the names. But it's not a merit-based society. So a lot depends on if Cleveland wants to deal with what's going to happen if Sanders is on the roster. Because if he is on the roster, the fans are going to want him to play.
Yeah. And at some point, he probably will. I mean, that's the reality if he is on the roster. It's just crazy that the margins are so thin with this that he could literally either be not on the roster and searching for an NFL team, which I don't think he'll have to search too long. Somebody will take a shot on him, or you'll be talking about a situation where he could be starting by week 6. Like, there's literally that big of a gap in the possibilities. It's fascinating. Jaylen Brown's dad. I will tell you a funny story, and I don't mean funny haha, but funny crazy. Wednesday night, I did something I rarely do here in Las Vegas. I watched the local news. I never watch the local news here in Las Vegas. I just don't. It's hard for me with a national brain and doing a national show. It's always hard for me to think locally. But I just happened to watch after I was watching a Gordon Ramsay cooking show, and after it was over, the local news came on. The Fox local newscast came on, and their sister station airs our show here in Vegas too. So anyway, I'm watching, and there's a story that comes on in the A block about a guy getting stabbed, a football coach or something getting stabbed at some car dispute. No names mentioned. Okay, it passes. Yesterday afternoon, I see the alert that Jaylen Brown's dad, a former boxer, was arrested, and he was the person who conducted the stabbing. And I'm just like, this is nuts. But apparently Jaylen Brown doesn't have much of a relationship with his dad.
Yeah, it's you see this a lot in sports. The dad kind of just pops up once the kid becomes an elite athlete. But the original part of their life, the kid part of their life, wasn't too much, and they're trying to quote unquote repair the relationship. It kind of has to suck if you're a famous person and any of your siblings, cousins, father, mother, if they get in trouble, their name is not the front part of the headline. Yeah. Because if that's not Jaylen Brown's dad, you're the only one that knows about that story, or the people locally in Vegas. It's not a national, type of story. Maybe a little bit, but not in particular. But now it's Jaylen Brown's dad, Jaylen Brown's dad, Jaylen Brown's dad. And that kind of sucks. Now, I did look a little bit on it. I know he's claiming, self-defense, but now that's something Jaylen Brown is going to have to deal with something that had, nothing to do with him.
And Patrick Mahomes has had to deal with this stuff.
Absolutely.
With his dad. But he's a little closer to his dad, isn't he?
Yeah, his dad been there the whole time. He goes to the games and stuff. It's a tough thing for me as a journalist, because in my mind, I'm like, the story, of course, is Patrick Mahomes, and his father, or it's Andy Reid and his son, But it's like, they have nothing to do with the actions of grown, men, but that's how it has to be reported.
Yeah, Michael Jordan and his son. See, isn't Michael Jordan's son dating Scottie Pippen's daughter or ex-wife or something? Yeah, that's it.
So, you pray that your kids don't put you in the news. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, I've never put my parents in the news for a bad reason. Not for a bad reason. Robert Littal is hanging out with us. He's the founder of Black Sports Online. I want to know what he thinks about Paige Beckers going off in a huge way this week for 44 points and a loss. After the game, you would have thought she won the way they were celebrating her. But she lost to the LA Sparks with the Dallas Wings. And I want to also ask him about this crush that she has on a Hollywood celeb. We'll get to it next. All right, another segment with Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, hangs out with us every Friday here on SportsWrap. Boy, oh boy, did Paige Beckers have the week. She went off for 44 on Wednesday night in a loss. Thank you, Kelsey Plum, for just ruining it for all of us. Kelsey Plum hits the game winner late and ruins what was an otherwise flawless night for Paige Beckers. 44 points, a WNBA rookie record, tying Cynthia Cooper, by the way, which should be mentioned, who also did that a long time ago. 17 of 21 shooting from the field. She is the master of the mid-range. She shot it well from three in this game as well. I said this weeks ago I don't know if I said it to you, but I think we might have talked about it. I think she's going to wind up being better than Caitlin Clark. I definitely think she's going to be a more prolific scorer. And a lot of people are like, well, how is she in the other aspects of the game? She's got size to her. And the difference between, and we see the way Caitlin Clark is sort of broken down this year, and we don't know if it's because maybe she worked out too much in the offseason. I suspect there is something to be said for the amount of weightlifting and the way maybe Caitlin Clark worked out in this offseason, that she has been so stricken by the injury bug this year. I think she could wind up being better than Caitlin Clark, and I'm not saying that because of what she did the other night. I said it weeks ago, just watching her play. And she talked about the fact that teams don't know how to defend the mid-range because nobody uses the mid-range. And I know analytics geeks will sit there and say, mid-range jumpers are useless and three-pointers are where it's at. But, man, when she shoots it the way she does, it's pretty damn useful.
The first thing I thought about while I was watching in real time, I was like, is this a Michael Jordan, North Carolina type of thing? Is this is the only person that could stop Paige Beckers was UConn and the coach down there. Is this, did we not know what she could really be fully unlocked until she got to the pros? And, we both watched Paige going all the way probably back to high school. The only thing that slowed her down was her health. Somebody said to me, Rob, think about it. She had a serious knee injury, missed a couple of years. Yeah. And, even last year, she was still kind of coming back from that. So this may be the first time that she's fully healthy since, her freshman year. And the chains have been unlocked. And that's what you're seeing is what we all thought Paige was going to be when we saw her as a freshman. I think, like you said, it's a different skill set than Caitlin Clark. I think it's all great that she's great. You want every number one pick that comes into a growing league to be better than the previous number one pick, because that's how the league grows. Yeah. So the more Paige, the more Caitlin, the more Angel, the more Centron, the more of these picks that becomes household names that go viral. That's only better for the WNBA. Now, if I can just get people to stop acting ignorant about it, we'll be on a better track.
I am glad you mentioned Angel Reese, because I have been critical of the fact that she can't hit a shot within 5 feet. Since she has come back from injury, her first couple of games back, she has been very good for Chicago. So, and they could have easily just sat her for the rest of the year. I mean, there's not, that team's not going anywhere. But hats off to Angel Reese, because I have to call it like I see it. And when she shoots it terribly, if I'm going to call her out, we also have to be fair to her. Her first couple of games back, she has been very good. I got to ask you this question. I don't know if people saw this, but apparently Paige Beckers has a huge crush on Shamar Moore. Well, I don't. What was he? The FBI? What was that show he was on? Was he on FBI?
He's one of
Criminal
those.
Minds. He was on Criminal. He was on Criminal
SWAT.
Minds.
SWAT.
Yeah, but he was also on Criminal Minds at one point. I think.
If you're old enough as me and have grandmothers, he got his
Young and the Restless.
The Young and the Restless.
Yes, I remember him on the Young and the Restless.
Yeah, Young and the Restless.
Yeah, absolutely. But apparently she has a huge crush on him. And she got to meet him after her 44-point performance. She saw him in the crowd when she was warming up, and she was going nuts. I have to ask you, Robert Littal, is there anybody that you ever wanted to meet or met that you were that starstruck by? That you were just like, oh my goodness, when you met this person?
Rihanna.
Really?
Yeah. I was at a... I vividly remember I was at one of the Kevin Durant Warriors and LeBron game, and she's a big LeBron fan, and I was in the bottom where they walk out in the tunnel, and she was like, the LeBron had lost, and she was like, the king is still the king, and just out of instinct I was like, that's right, girl, and she gave me a high five, and she said, you're cute.
Oh my God.
And that was the most of the interaction. But I turned around and there was other reporters and stuff like that. And I was just like, how you like me now? What do you got to say now?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. For me, I have to say, they were both wrestlers.
Really? Okay.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Mm-hmm.
I got to actually interview him. And Rowdy Roddy Piper. I got to do a one-on-one with in studio in Hartford when I was with ESPN Radio in Hartford.
You know, another cool moment for me, I went to Avengers Endgame and like the premiere, and we were walking to the after party, like down Hollywood Boulevard and everything, and I happened to be walking with Samuel Jackson.
Wow.
And, you know, I just said, hey, Mr. Jackson, my name's Robert, you know, so I know who you are, MNF'er. I guess back then he was on Twitter a lot. He's like, I seen your stories, MNF'er.
MNF'er. That is great. You got called MNF'er by Samuel L. Jackson. Your life is complete.
Oh my God, Samuel L. Jackson knows. I told my mom that day.
We got to go. Robert, I always appreciate it, my friend.
Okay.
We wrap it up with odds and ends 10 minutes from now. But if it's a Friday on SportsWrap, we say it every week. It's a NASCAR Friday, and Tino Pattigno is here, previewing NASCAR's regular season finale in Daytona. Been a busy week for us with NASCAR. We had Austin Dillon on Monday, hung out with us and talked about his conquest in Richmond. Now, I got to ask you, because your reaction in your social media video, I think, spoke for all of us in the level of surprise for Austin Dillon to come out the winner in this event. Was it a missed number by the books, or, you know, was this as big a surprise as the books made it look like?
A bit of both, right? I mean, to see Austin Dillon replicate what he did in this race last year, except for the chaos at the end, not only is that big, but it's redemption, and it's surprising because we did not, the NASCAR community, the sports books, the fans, no one really expected that to happen because of how RCR's performance has been this season. It hasn't been to the level it was at with Richmond, but you had tire fall off, and in Austin Dillon's post-race interview after he won that race in a dominating fashion, he says, with tire fall off, I could put myself with some of the best in the sport right now. And I really respected that because of what happened last year. Obviously, you know, he wrecked out some guys, wasn't able to get his ticket to the playoff then. To do it the right way this year and to really showcase why he was able to do it there at the end with conserving his stuff and managing his tires, in which we haven't seen many races like that this year. Tip of the cap to Austin Dillon.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the mindset or the mental stick-to-itiveness to be able to, as you said, replicate what he did last year in a race where nobody gave him a shot to win is pretty remarkable, and he plays his way in, wins his way into the playoffs. All right, so before we get to the race in Daytona, is it as simple when you look at, 14 drivers in, 2 spots remaining, Tyler Reddick in 15th, 89 points ahead of the cut line, Alex Bowman is 60 ahead. Is it as simple as Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman just stay out of trouble, finish the race, Buescher, nobody below that 16 line wins, and you're in? Am I looking at this right?
Well, it's on paper, that's correct.
Okay.
But you have to imagine someone's winning outside of that cut line. So if you are Alex Bowman right now, 16th plus 60, I am very stressed out for this weekend's race. And I'll go as a step further to say, if I'm Tyler Reddick, only plus, what would that be, 29 to Alex Bowman? That is still scary, because if Tyler Reddick gets into trouble early, which anyone can at Daytona, then Alex Bowman is in the driver's seat, pun intended, because then we see an outside winner like last year, Harrison Burton, 100-1, 33rd in this regular season standings, locked into the playoffs because of his win at Daytona in the final race before the playoffs. Because of that was very surprising to see, because that bumps people down, and you have to imagine something like that can happen again. And I'm on edge if I'm either two of those drivers.
So then I do ask, if Reddick or Bowman wrecks and can't finish the race, it does open it up for somebody like Buescher or Preece, right?
Theoretically, yes. but I don't think they'll have enough points to get that gap and close that gap.
So you're saying theoretically Reddick or Bowman could wreck and still make the playoffs?
Yes. Okay. That's if we don't have a new winner.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're talking about a new winner, you know, obviously, looking outside the first 14 here, what stands out to you?
RFK, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, Brad Keselowski. Not only are they fast consistently now, recently this season when it mattered most, and those playoff spots keep ticking down. Not only that, but when we go to super speedways, they can work the best together as a team. I put them right up there against Team Penske, and those three drivers, and Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, have the most laps run inside the top 5 on drafting tracks. The difference between RFK and Penske as of now, Penske really has had trouble finishing these races. They'll dominate stage 1, stage 2, maybe lead all the laps. But when the big wreck happens, I want the guys that'll be there at the end when it matters most. Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, those are the type of guys that I've seen do that before. But they've also been the guys that have been involved in wrecks. I mentioned Ryan Preece. He's had some scary ones at Daytona.
Oh, the one at Daytona,
races.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see from that standpoint.
How does this racetrack run this time of year versus Daytona 500? How much differently does it run?
I think we're going to see a lot more urgency early on, especially when it comes to teams that have drivers that aren't locked into the playoffs. Joe Gibbs Racing, 3 of them are locked in. Ty Gibbs, the only one that isn't. We're going to see a lot of teamwork between them to try to get him up towards the front. And
Austin Dillon on the show on Monday just said, he's like, it's all about the number 8. He says, that's it. We're just trying to figure out a way to get the number 8 in.
100%. And this is the race to do it. Kyle Busch in this race last year finished in second. If you want a driver of underdog status or back-to-back RCR wins, I wouldn't be too surprised. He's 15-1 to get it done right now at Daytona under the lights, and he was so close to doing so last year. That's a driver I have my eye on, and I think a bunch of other guys too. You can pick anyone really from a hat. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is also really fast at super speedways.
Kyle Busch at 14-1 on FanDuel, I'll note. Before I let you go, give me a driver with your heart and a driver with your head.
Perfect. Well, my heart play would be Eric Jones. He was 50-1. Wow. To open up the week. He's a guy that I've looked forward to watching super speedway races. He's just always sort of been in the mix. And with the head, oh man, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. He's wrecked out a few of these, but he's the best driver when it comes to super speedways.
And then we're in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. I know. It's hard to believe this NASCAR season, as long as it is, it feels like it has literally flown by. And Tino Pattigno has been with us every step of the way. Catch him on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio on the weekend, also on Tubi with his picks there. Always appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy the race this weekend.
Thank you.
We're coming back. All right, just about time to wrap it up for this week on SportsWrap. A couple of reminders before we go. SportsWrap Weekends. It is a 30-minute wrap-up show of all the best of what we discussed this week on the show. It's available on many of these same affiliates. If not, check your local listings for time and schedule. It could be on a sister station. I think we should start putting up the podcast of the weekend show. I don't typically put up the weekend show as a podcast. We only put up the Monday through Friday show, but maybe we'll start putting that up as well. Speaking of the podcast, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast is available. Audio-only version of this show. Available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. You can listen to us on the ride to work while you're in the shower, planes, trains, automobiles, on the treadmill, wherever you might want to listen to the show. Commercial-free Monday through Friday. Again, maybe we'll start putting up the weekend edition of that as well for you. And again, all your favorite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. We are on all of them and more. In addition to being on over 300 affiliates by the time we get to September 1st around the U.S. and Canada. You can watch this show a couple of other ways. Through our Spotify channel, Sports Wrap with Jason Page, or our YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. And in addition to the show being available on that YouTube channel, you get Sports Wrap Shorts, clips from the show, sometimes clips not from the show. Sometimes conversations run long. We need a place to put them. the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to go for all of that. And again, you can watch the show there commercial-free, Monday through Friday, available each and every afternoon. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, on this Friday, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. I gotta say it. You have always cautioned us when it comes to these stories involving sports betting and athletes and controversy. And while some have gone off the rails for some of these athletes, and there have been some that have gotten caught up in sports betting to a detriment and to an illegal manner, here is one where a guy has thoroughly been trashed in the press and now finds himself trying to rehab his reputation because there was an investigation into illegal sports betting or suspicious lines or things that happened. And it's Malik Beasley, who's now running around going, all right, somebody sign me, please, because I just lost out on like a $45 million contract extension from the Pistons because I was being investigated by, federal authorities. And now he's looking for a home, Sam.
Yeah, this is the dark side of... We're going to hyper-focus on these athletes gambling, and oh my gosh, all these millionaire athletes want to do is gamble on themselves and make more money. Wow, what a real big problem we're having. This is the other side of it. You've now ruined this man's career. Shams Charania reported at the outset of this investigation that Beasley was nearing completion in talks to extend his contract for 4 years and $48 million. So this is, and now obviously because of, as Jason mentioned, the media circus around it, everybody dove into Malik Beasley's financials and understands that maybe Malik Beasley isn't the best money manager on earth, as we all aren't at times. So people got way too into the weeds about his business, and now everybody knows that he needs money. So now NBA and federal government, working in conjunction here, probably with the legal sports books, you have successfully managed to take a very successful NBA basketball player.
They tar and feathered him.
And not just that. They ruined his career. They took money out of his pocket.
Well, he may still get a deal. It sounds like there's 3 or 4 teams that are still talking to him. Let's not act like this is the end for him. It is not.
If he doesn't sign a 4-year, $48 million extension and signs for anything less than that, it, I think, should be looked at as the league and the federal government taking money out of his pocket.
Yeah,
because they had the power to initiate this investigation at their own leisure, and they did, 2 days before free agency started? Absolutely ridiculous. Adam Silver, you've done it again. You're really trying to get up there with Rob Manfred as the worst commissioner in sports. It's absolutely ridiculous how horribly Malik Beasley has been treated. If I'm the NBA PA at this point, I am taking every avenue possible to file every grievance against the NBA until the cows come home.
And I think they would be in their right to obviously do that. Sam, before I let you go, I got to get your thoughts on 2 things. Look into your crystal ball and tell me where you think we are when we resume this show on Monday. The Tour Championship on the PGA Tour, the FedEx Cup. Who is your winner when we come back on Monday?
Come on, Jason, that's easy.
I know,
you know who it is.
Ask.
It's Scotty Scheffler.
There it is. All right, Scotty Scheffler is your pick. Russell Henley was leading after the opening round. We'll see where things are on Monday. U.S. or international? I think all more than likely it'll be Chinese Taipei in that championship game, either against Connecticut or Nevada.
Whoa! I'm going international. I don't know
who's
Chinese
beating
Taipei
China.
Aruba game, I'm going to be locked in for.
Yeah.
Both of those teams are really fun to watch, and I'm going with the international just because international teams are generally better than American teams. Sorry.
Chinese Taipei in that championship game has set it up, I think, so that they'll have that flamethrower out there.
Oh, the kid who throws 82?
Yeah. Good luck with that. Connecticut's been a great story, but... And I'm rooting for him. It's my home state. Yeah, I know. We got to go. Thanks, Robert Littal, Tino Pattigno, Sam Yarnell. We'll see you all on Monday.